If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Alto Call MAFS. I'm your host, Tane. With me is my co-host, Jen. Hi, Jen. How are you doing?
Hi, Tane. I'm doing really well, actually. We just spent the day doing a 3-tank scuba dive here in Phuket, Thailand, and my husband likes to remind me that it's been 112 days since we've been scuba diving. So we're both back in our happy place. So it's all good. Gucci right now.
That is good. That is awesome. Yeah, we are back to discuss Couples Therapy, Season 4, Episode 12 today. A little housekeeping, reminding you that patreon.com/AltoCallMAFS. We have all the bonus episodes on there. Sister Wives is coming back, so there's going to be a bonus episode. 90 Day Fiancé, Aid made a return, and we talked about Happily Ever After. We talked about The Other Way. I had Jason on. We had a recap of the season for 90 Day Hunt for Love. So if any of those catch your fancy, go check it out. And I should have a documentary coming soon. Not sure which one, but, check it out. So there are different tiers. If you want to listen ad-free, those pesky ads, there's a tier for that, and you can join. And if you don't want to join any of that, you can join for free and just have a good time over on the Patreon. I have been doing a lot of watching for the pod, Jen, and I decided, I want to watch stuff for fun.
Okay.
And I just watched, I think I'm just going to talk about 3 things that I just watched. And I watched Hunting Wives. I finally finished Hunting Wives, and I don't think I know what I watched, but I was there for the ride, and the ride was fun. So
the ride was somebody's lesbian fever dream. Some writer out there who's like, I really just want to have sex with all of my friends and murder my son's girlfriend, whatever that was. It started out so straight. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's been out for a minute. If somebody hasn't seen it by now, come on.
I just saw it. I just finished it recently. But it's based on a book. So, they got renewed for a season 2. So I'm not optimistic, because when they follow a book, people do great. Once they decide to veer off on their own, everything goes down the toilet. So
yes, we're talking to you, Game of Thrones. We're talking to you, True Blood. Like, stick with the original writers.
Yeah, I'm not sure where this is going to go. I'm happy for Brittany Snow. If you want to connect it to the reality TV world, for anyone who remembers, her husband was on, not Selling Sunset, the spinoff of Selling Sunset. Or maybe it is Selling Sunset OC.
I think it is.
Yeah, Selling Sunset OC. Her husband was on there in a very, very close friendship with someone, but nothing was going on. But my introduction to Brittany Snow was, when I moved to America, I was into soap operas. Like, it was, it was the CBS ones. It was Bold and Beautiful, As the World Turns, and then Guiding Light. And I think Brittany Snow's was on Guiding Light. So that was my introduction to her before she spread out and became this Hunting Wife star that she is. Because I think she has another project. So I think she's staying booked and busy. But again, I don't know what this was supposed to be. There's no rhyme, there's no reason. There's so many holes, so many storylines, but sometimes you just go with the ride. And it was, like you said, a fever dream. So
Yes. And there's
that's
nobody
some,
that I liked. I wanted so much to root for somebody, and everybody that I wanted to root for turned out to be terrible. But it's certainly, it's one of those that you watch where you just want mindless, you don't want to think about things, you just need to
yeah.
clear your mind. It's really great for that. Like, we binged through that probably in like a week.
Yeah. I mean, I would recommend it if, like Jen said, if you're just looking for something mindless,
Mm-hmm.
just, I don't know what, don't watch it with your parents or kids
Oh
around
no.
because at any moment a boob might pop up and stuff. So just warning. I watched the Charlie Sheen documentary.
Me too.
I thought that was really good, but it made me so sad. And I left going like, how the heck is this man still alive? Like he wasn't
Yeah.
kidding when he
Yeah.
said that tiger blood thing. I remember that part of history, but he wasn't kidding because by all accounts, he should not be alive.
Yeah. And I had two really strong reactions to it. My first strong reaction was, oh, this is kind of a love letter to his dad. And I know his dad didn't participate in it, but I'm hoping that he saw it because it truly felt like a love
Yeah.
letter to his dad. And my second reaction as a child of an addict was like, bro, you had so many chances to not be a jerk. You had so many chances to
Yeah.
do things. But I guess when you have zero consequences, where you're only rewarded, I can see
Yeah.
how he could keep doing this and how he had the support from Denise. Nobody was going to let this person fail from a place of, I care about you. And so I wonder if at some point he failed, which it sounded like, after all the Tiger Blood thing was kind of his low. Um, and sorry to spoiler alert again, but it's really good. It's really well done. I didn't want to watch it because I disliked him for so long after that
Yeah.
whole Tiger Blood thing. But seeing the full story and seeing him he tells it pretty well, actually.
Yes.
He doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mince words. He doesn't hide
Yes.
behind anything. He doesn't make excuses for anything. So he did really well. Yeah, I really, really liked it. I was surprised.
Yes, I like that you said like a love letter to his dad because that is true. The whole thing I was thinking, I'm just like Martin Sheen never gave up on this man. I mean, a little slight tiny bit armchair expert. I said armchair expert. That's a podcast. That's Dak Shepard's podcast. Armchair psychology is just. I wonder if his dad felt some kind of guilt because I don't know if I knew that his dad had an addiction as well. Um,
Yeah,
and
I didn't know that.
they say that it could be genetic. And I don't know if he felt like I'm the one who passed it down to him. He did mention his dad was Catholic, and sometimes religious people have that. This Catholic guilt is literally a term. And I wondered if that was the thing. And not to take away from the fact that he was a good dad. And he was just there with him every step of the way, regardless of what it is, regardless of when Charlie took him for granted. He was just always there. And now I'm thinking maybe it was a good idea not to be involved in the documentary because, of course, we would want him to be there. But like Charlie said, who wants to relive all that pain? Like, yeah, he went through it, but he caused pain for other people in his life. Him and his brother Emilio decided not to partake of it, but it seems like they still have like a good relationship, and it was very well done in that. I always say, like for books, memoirs, don't write a memoir if you're not willing to talk about everything. And I
Exactly.
think this was like if it was a memoir, this was a good memoir. He was not afraid to talk about anything. Like laid on the table. He got all the right people on there. Denise, I don't think Denise realizes that, or maybe she does, that she was put through the ringer, but she didn't have to go through everything that she went through. And I think, like, I hope she's healing. It sounds traumatic, I guess, for lack of a better word.
It is traumatic. The stuff that they went through and the stuff that I'm sure they continue to go through is really dramatic. And yeah, I think hopefully she sought some therapy on herself as to why, you know, she did some of the things that she did that I guess if we were armchair psychologists, we would call enabling. But yeah, it's wild what they went through. Without giving anything away, like your one word reaction to his friend, I forget the black guy's name. That guy. So what's your one word reaction to him and your one word reaction to Sean Penn?
One word reaction. I think his friend's name was Todd or something. My one word reaction was like, I'm glad he has him. Well, it's not one word. I'm just going to say what I'm glad he had him. But then it got to a point where I was like, well, where's the line between being a good friend and enabling him? So, yeah. And then who was the other person you asked about?
Sean Penn.
Sean Penn. My one word reaction was like, that's Sean Penn? Like it didn't click until it was then, and I was like, wait, hold up. I think that just said that was Sean Penn. And I was like, this is Sean Penn? Like, oh, okay.
He's been through some stuff.
But yeah, but anyways, another one I recommend, like be ready to, he just goes into the ugly, and I hope he is clean, for his daughters. I noticed that one of his daughters did not show up also, and they did not address that at all. And I think she also sometimes has a contentious relation. I think that's the one who had the OnlyFans when Denise also got one too, and they had their own show, Wild Things that I didn't watch, but yeah, I hope he's in a good place, and he's been giving a 156th chance at life, and I hope he takes advantage of it. The last thing that I watched was on Paramount Plus, home of where couples therapy is, and it's called Thirst Trap. Well, it's a show about some guy on TikTok, William White, who apparently was giving joy to a lot of middle-aged women during the pandemic. He basically just lip syncs to old school music, and these women were swooning because I'm guessing there's a lack of joy in their lives and relationship, and they're thirsting over this boy who was like 19 at the time or 20, and they made fan clubs. They sent him money, and he lived in Canada, and they went all the way. They organized like a road trip to go visit allegedly Canada, but then they were trying to find him again. He's 19, and they're like late 40s. So it was, to me, I think the most fascinating thing about this to me was connecting it somehow in some way to Unknown Number, where there's this thing where because we don't know where the line is, and parasocial relationships are on the rise, where people think they know someone because they follow them or they're fans of them on social media. And then the line between inappropriate, it's not blurry, it's crossed. It's crossed. And things just went out of hand, and he's struggling with his mental health, and that's till today. And I don't know that it was very well done, but I think the meat of the subject matter, which is just like, how are we as a country seeking joy through a 19-year-old and crossing boundaries with him? One lady even said, like, oh, he reawakened her sexual journey on her side, not because they slept together, but just because she found so much joy following him and looking at him, and he's so sexy and so hot. And she decided to lose a bunch of weight and go out there and go live life. She needed a 19-year-old hot boy to do that for her. So,
somebody send Orna in there. Orna, help these ladies.
Orna's like, I don't have time for this. This is beyond me. But yeah. So those are the three things I think highlight. I don't know, is there anything that you've watched that has stood out to you?
Thanks to you, I'm back on the challenge, Justice for CT, and we're watching is it Black Rabbit, that movie or that series on Netflix with Jason Bateman and Jude Law, and it's a thriller. It keeps you on your toes. It's one of those. I think we've got 2 more episodes left, and I don't think I've seen Jason Bateman like this before. I guess it's kind of like his character in Ozarks, where he's not a great person. But there's something about his Bradley Cooper long hair that makes it different. I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting to see the characters very differently. So we're working our way through that.
Okay. Feel free to share what you're watching, sending any questions. But if you're looking for something to watch, hope you can find something from one of these. Okay, let us dive into these couples this week. So we start with Boris and Jessica, and it started with a montage of them listening to their partners talk. Like, this is everyone in the cast. Then our beloved Boris lets us know that he had a hard time with the last session that they had, and he hated the portrait of him that emerged. I'm like, maybe it is you and not a portrait, and maybe you should fix up. Then Orna asked, okay, how did you see yourself? And he was like, as someone that's possessed by completely unreasonable expectations, who is unsatisfiable, and no issue is too small to be annoyed by and obsessed with. And I'm like, awesome. Sounds accurate. That is you.
That
You
is what
got
we
it, dude.
That is what we call a breakthrough. Congratulations. Welcome to therapy.
Well, except he's thinking like you're thinking it's a portrait. I'm like, switch up just a little bit. That is what you are. He's like, I sound like a monster. And it's like, why does Jessica even want to be with me? And she's like, oh, because sometimes you're a very nice person. And I just love that she didn't say, oh, no, that's not you at all. You are not a monster. She's just like, no, sometimes you're a nice person. Everything else on the money, dude.
Yeah.
She didn't say that, but that's
And
basically.
Yeah, and I think that's what he was looking for. I think he was, and I don't know if traditionally she bows him out, and now because they're not at the end of the rope, but they're ready to change their behaviors, that she's like, I'm not doing this with you. If this is how you see yourself, I'm not going to argue with you about it. And I think he just seemed so shocked that nobody was like, oh, poor you. Like, oh, that's not how we see you. Oh, no, you're a great guy. Because when nobody said anything, he got kind of stunned.
Yes.
So good for the ladies for not bailing him out. I love that.
Yeah, you could literally see it on his face how, wait, no one's saying that that's not true. Was this like a woe is me? Like, no, that's not how we meant to portray. You did that to yourself by the words coming out of your mouth.
Right.
So he does say that he's a classic cliche immigrant story where when he came to this country, the people around him expected him to make something of himself here. But instead, he took that expectation and made something toxic out of it by developing impossible standards. And it's hard for him to be perceived as unreasonable. And I'm like, okay, you can develop impossible standards, but from all we've heard, your impossible standards are reserved for like tomatoes and apples and stuff. We haven't heard you talk about actual things that are like your impossible standards. Like, I don't know what he's referring to when he says he has impossible standards. The only examples we've been giving has been walking a mile to get a good tomato. So,
and maybe this is the issue I have with people who go to therapy, and you're brought to this place where you recognize, like, hey, this is something about me. And if you are not wanting to change that, that's great. You don't have to go to therapy and change everything about you, but you do have to change how your behavior impacts other people. So if you recognize that you're this picky person and you want to save money on apples or whatever, tomatoes, eggs, whatever, because this is something that's important to you, and that's fine. You don't have to change that about yourself, but what you're doing is not working with your partner. So how do you be picky, but do it in a way that doesn't take away from Jessica? And that's the part that is missed. Jessica?
Yeah. And the irony is like, yeah. And the irony is that you have impossible standards. Why does that not apply to you having impossible standards to be like the best husband and partner that you can be? You know?
Okay.
So that's right.
We're going to have to get you an Orna couch. That was awesome.
No, that's why I'm not buying this thing that he's doing. He basically came in here to do a pity party or PR stunt or whatever it is. But it's like, let's get to the actual work. You're recognizing things. What can we do about it? You know? Jessica says that, the thing is that you're scared of being judged. And he was trying to explain. I was like, okay, maybe there's something to it. And Honor is like, let me put this in better language. What you're experiencing is an amplified projection of how you're experiencing yourself as someone who's excessive, and there's not enough room for you, and it seems toxic. That it's something for him to figure out and not take it as fact. And he says he sees it as a failure to transform himself And he knows it makes his life so much harder because it misaligns with Jess, that there's nothing wrong with her. She just happens to be with someone who hasn't been able to meet her halfway, and he hasn't built the bridge. And I know you have strong feelings for Boris, but when he says this or when he recognizes this, my question was, oh, do you feel bad for him now at this point?
in one word, no, because I go back to, if you just want to be this version of you that serves you, awesome. But that's not how being a couple works. You've got to be a version that serves both of you. And if you're willing to accept that, great. That's why you're in therapy. But what we've seen so far, he's not willing to acknowledge his role in the parts of the relationship that don't work. And so until he gets there, and I want him to get there because I want to root for him. I want good things for all these couples because clearly they've been together for a while. There's love there. They've got kids. Like I root for love. I want this to work, but I also want the work not to be 100% on Jessica. And I think that's where I have problems with Boris, is that all of this, from his perspective, seems to be Jessica's issue.
Yeah. I mean, it's so weird. I'm torn between, I think this is a breakthrough if you're recognizing these things about yourself and you are, acknowledging where this may stem from and that you are not being your best self as a partner to her. I'm torn between like, okay, we're making progress. And then the other part is like, is this genuine? Is this him just like, oh my God, this is going to be on camera. People are going to look at me as whatever, because it seems like he was trying to be like, I can't say the word. A martyr?
Martyr?
Yeah, martyr.
There you go.
So he was trying to be a martyr and just being like, I'm so horrible. Oh my God, she has to put up with me. Oh, I'm just what like, is it real? Or are you just saying it because you know it's going to be on camera and she said it, and Jessica seems unmoved. I want to note that Jessica is not like, oh no, don't feel nothing. She says nothing except the little things that we said. I think she only had like 3 lines this entire episode. And she does say, you are scared of being judged. So that's where I'm torn, is like, this is great if he made a breakthrough, but on the flip side, more that's winning, my brain is saying like, this was just some kind of make me look good.
Yeah. And I think that's my frustration with him too, is that Jessica's not an unreasonable partner. She's not somebody that you can't communicate with effectively. She's somebody that's very clear and very concise. Like, you don't have to dig to understand what she means. And I get the sense that she's got that clarity with him all the time. So I think that's why I'm so frustrated with him. One of the many reasons is that you're not with somebody that you can't communicate clearly with. You're not with somebody that can't be empathetic. You're not with somebody that doesn't understand. She clearly understands you. She's
a therapist.
She's a therapist, but she sees you. She sees the parts of you that you find challenging, and she's willing to do it with you, but he doesn't give it back, which is frustrating.
Yeah. Orna tells Virginia that, or was it Virginia or Boris, that, he uses the term monstrous a lot. And, she was telling Virginia, sorry, that's her therapist, that, she notices that he uses the term monstrous a lot, and she kind of feels bad for him. And Jessica did mention something about whenever they're speaking, he does bring like a judgmental air. Like, he acts like, that condescending thing where it feels like you're asking a question, but you're not asking because you want the answer. You're asking because you think you're trying to make the other person look stupid. And I think that's what he does to Jessica. And Jessica's like, yeah, and even when you're asking, it brings like a judgmental air. So Virginia says it seems like he needs containment. And Orna was like, yeah, he probably does, but I'm not sure if he regards her as a friendly entity or not. I think basically saying like, maybe Boris is feeling out if Orna is the enemy or not. And when I say enemy, I think it's something you said where people go to therapy and you just want the therapist to tell the other person, you're wrong, I'm great. And I think he's going through that metamorphosis, if in fact this is working for him, where he's realizing like, oh, I may have the problem. Maybe I am being like unreasonable, but it's also like, but is the therapist siding with her and then I'm the bad guy, you know? So I think that's where they are in that relationship.
And that would be scary too, as a Boris or any man, where your wife is a therapist and you're seeing a therapist. So I think regardless of how things go, I could see why he would feel ganged up on. You know, like maybe they have a secret code that he's not in on. I don't know. I could see why that would be intimidating. But
Yeah.
you chose to be here, sir.
Okay. Anything else with them?
Nope. I'm Team Jessica all day. I love her.
Okay, gonna take a quick little break and we'll be back to speak about someone who I'm sure doesn't think Orna is a friendly entity, and that will be Nick and Catherine. We'll be right back.
If weight management is one of your New Year goals, Quicksilver Scientific's GLP-1 amplifier can help. This science-backed formula supports metabolic balance, curbs cravings, and promotes healthy blood sugar levels, making it easier to stay consistent and in control. It helps give your body the boost it needs to keep you on track. Feel confident and energized this year with Quicksilver Scientific's GLP-1 amplifier. Get 10% off and free shipping at tryqs.com/podcast. Again, that's tryqs.com/podcast for 10% off and free shipping. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
And we're back. Okay. I don't get this couple. I feel like what I said last week was completely thrown out the window because I think I said, oh, there's love there and Catherine is just walking on eggshells and all that, but I don't know. We say Boris is a villain. I don't know. Nick is something and I'm not sure what that thing is. Well, speaking of someone, like I said, who's not sure if Orna is friend or foe, this is Nick. They are back in the waiting room and we get Nick 2. Nick 2 is Nick without the hat. And
the less cool version.
He's telling Catherine that he's so aware of her defensiveness. And I'm like, her defensiveness? Her? Not you? But that he had to sit in the bathroom wondering how to ask her to shut the window. And they're going back and forth about, I guess, how he tells her to shut the window and she doesn't shut the window. And he apparently gives her a list of things to do first thing in the morning. These were the snippets I got. And, as they're talking, we see Orna in her office. She's petting her dog as their voices float into the office. And you can tell like there's some kind of, not an argument, but a bickering that's going on. And then she goes over and then she turns over the hourglass for the time. And all that's going through my head is like sands through the hourglass. So are the days of our lives.
That's funny. All that was going through my mind was thank goodness for Orna's dog, because Orna's dog was a true champion of this session.
No, but also that was cinema. I love the way they just let them bicker, let their voices float through, let Orna sound like she can't hear anything and just petting the dog. Then she just not dramatically, but she walks over, turns the hourglass, and I'm like, wow, cinema. Thank you, couples therapy. Okay, so they sit, and then Catherine was like, oh, they got into a fight last night, which they had in front of their kid. And then the kid wakes up in the morning and is telling him to lay off of her. And we both don't have children. There's the caveat. So I don't know how it is, but I don't know how you get to the point where you're so mad and you do it casually in front of the kid. And the kid is telling you, lay off mom. Like, that means it has to be that bad to involve the kid. I'm just like, kids didn't ask for any of these. Like, we have our own issues, but why are we? It becomes a burden to them that I'm like, how bad are we in it that we can't stop for a second to think that, okay, let's not just do this in front of the kid,
Yeah, and I think Rod and Allison had that maybe last week or the week before, where they were fighting in front of their kid, and their kid had to play referee. And I don't know if it's one, and maybe there's something about, because I think they both only have one kid, so maybe there's something about people with one kid feeling like we're a unit, like we're a triad, and so all of us are in this thing together. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the dynamics of that is. But I agree that if you can't kind of recognize, especially in this day and age when we have TikTok and all of these kids that have social media talking about how terrible their parents are, like, you got to be aware that what you're doing, the kids are observing, and they're using this as models for their future behavior, for their future relationships. And I don't know how I would do that, which is why I did not have kids.
There's that where they're a triad. I think that's an angle. And the other part is maybe the resentment is just rooted so deep that you're just blind and you just black out and you're like, nope, I got to get my point out. I don't care if the kid is there or not. So Nick talks about there were separate incidents, and one of the incidents is like she went on a girls trip and he was watching their kid Luna. They had a busy weekend and they were both, the kid and him, just laying on the couch. She comes back from the girls trip. She drops her bags and he didn't immediately get up. I mean, she cut him off to say, oh, you didn't tell the food. And he's like, I'm getting there. He didn't immediately get up and she comes back in. I was like, don't everyone get up at once. And I'm like, is that including the kid? Is the kid getting strays too? Like, are we talking about Nick? Are we talking about both of them? Like, what? And which makes sense for your triad thing. Like, maybe all of them, like, you're siding with daddy, I hate you too. I'm not hate, but you get what I mean.
No, but yeah, and you're catching these hands. You're catching these verbal hands too.
So he says, like, it bothered him, like, how she always says, like, he doesn't support her. And Una's like, okay, how did you express this hurt? And she's like, he expressed his hurt the same way he always does, by not talking to me, and he punishes me with silence, which I hate so much. It's such a form of, what's the word?
Manipulation?
Control. Yes. Like, use your words, dude. Like, what are you trying to do? So he's saying that he's hoping that they could have a scenario where she puts her bags down and she says, hello, and it doesn't become this performative thing. And then Catherine rolls her eyes and then Una asks, like, is there a part of you, that's to Nick, that has been thinking, hey, you've been away, I've been waiting, why don't you come find me? And he's like, yeah, maybe there is. And I do think that there's a point here. I don't think either of them are right. I actually get what he's saying about, okay, she comes in and it's like, okay, you're back. And the first thing is that it feels like you're criticizing me already. Like I'm not doing something wrong. Right. I'm not doing anything. And it's like a continuous thing of you pointing out all the things that I'm not doing right. But I think it's more of a symptom. It's not necessarily that moment or that gesture of not getting up and getting the bags. It's just more of like an accumulation of all of the things of whatever is going on with them. And she's waiting for a big gesture. But he's so passive that she gets triggered and annoyed. And on his part, I'm also sure this is where I have a problem with Nick, that he wants all the praise for watching his own child for the weekend. I think he's just like, I just watched the kid. I didn't do anything. You went on a girl's trip. You are a father.
And that was exactly my note. And that he's probably one of those guys that uses the term, well, I babysat my kid. No, you didn't babysit your kid. You watched your kid. But it reminds me of the last episode when they were having the argument about the birthday party, where I feel like they're both looking for applause from their partner. Like, Catherine wanted applause last week where she threw this grand party for their daughter and it was really successful and the daughter was happy and she was waiting for Nick to be like, babe, you did great. But he didn't. He sat on the couch and he didn't help her clean up. And he was looking for applause at like, oh, babe, I paid for this whole thing. Like, I'm going to figure out how to balance this money and it's coming on my business account and whatever the cards on fire with that one. But he wanted applause that he paid for it. She wanted applause that she put it together and they didn't get it. And then it popped up again where he wanted applause for babysitting his kid and she wanted applause for just being there, And I think that's what I feel like from the two of them, is that they don't feel appreciated by their partner. And instead of saying, hey, this is how I feel appreciated by you, they just have these dumb arguments about lists and windows, and they're not getting to what it is they need from each other.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think another part of it also is like Nick just seems so cagey. Because when you put all the pieces together where he's not opening up, he what was it that he's punishing her with silence. How do you even deal with that? At some point, you're going to get so frustrated. And then what did she say last week? He's an avoidant. He's not saying anything. Because also, Orna says in this episode, like, a part of him might be feeling like he's waiting too long to connect and for her to acknowledge all that he does. I don't think I completely understood what she meant, but maybe a little bit. And Anna says they have an opportunity to do things differently and have a totally different experience with each other. Because the real question is, why are they tiptoeing around each other? What happened that they got to this point that no one wants to speak? And it seems like Nick is dealing with a lot, I guess, with the loss of his mom and him not wanting to. He's the one who doesn't want to say anything that affects his dad, right? Is it him? Yeah. So there's too much. You got to be open if you're going to come to therapy so that you can connect the dots, so that you can have the diagnosis. And it doesn't seem like he's willing to do that. They're both building narratives in their minds, and it's building their resentment alongside with it instead of just communicating with each other. And the expectations are just getting higher and higher.
Yeah. And I feel, and I don't know if you feel this too, I feel like every time they get into therapy, Catherine always like, well, tell her this, and don't forget to tell her this, and tell her this, you know, in terms of that being explanation for Nick's behavior. And that goes back to, I think what I said last time, like Nick needs his individual therapy. Like he's got to deal with whatever stuff is going on with himself and his dad and whatever before he can even think about fixing this relationship with Catherine. Because to your point with Charlie Sheen, like patterns get passed down in relationships and patterns get passed down in families, and there's something being passed down. We think maybe it's the depression that his mom had, and maybe he has it and he's trying to fight it, but there's a bunch of stuff going on that has nothing to do with Catherine. But it seems to be he wants to be this very capable, he wants her to recognize that he's this very capable, responsible husband. You know, he's taking care of the money. We see him washing the dog. He's taking care of their daughter. Like, I think in his head, he's doing all the things that a husband does, but he's not doing all the things that a partner does. And that's the disconnect.
I think he's going through the motions. There's not actual like emotions and being present involved in it. Is like checking the box and just doing it. And I think a little part of me after this episode wondered, was Nick ready for this couples therapy?
No.
Is he at that point where he's willing to really surrender to the process and then get something out of it? So I don't know. I don't know if they're there for that. Okay. All right. Quick little break, and I'll be right back to talk about Rod and Allison. And we're back. So, I mean, Allison doesn't do much talking this week, which is rare.
For a change.
So they come in and Rod says that he feels like Allison has been avoiding him. And she says, yes. And then he says his mom is around from overseas, and he feels like Allison feels like he's babysitting his mom and he's taking care of her. And like, why are you like making her a cup of tea? I'm like, really? You can't make a cup of tea for your mom? Because he's like, I should be able to make tea for my mom. I don't know why that's a big deal. Like, Allison is like, why can't she make her own tea? I'm like, oh boy.
Because she's not in her own home, you weirdo.
Even if it was not her, like, okay, it's just a cup of tea. And that's the thing about human interactions. Everything is not about the actual action being taken. There's just so much more. It's like a loaded thing that's going on with that. Rod says that Allison is always talking about communication and communicate and say what you're feeling. And yet she has a disappearing act the last week or so. The disappearing act is like she goes take the dog for a walk and is gone for like 3 hours during the week. So when he's talking, she's trying to interrupt Rod to be like, oh, I mean, you know, with her, is it frantic energy? She's like, no, but what? And Orna is like, don't. I'm like, ooh. And she's like, okay, I'm not saying anything. Orna's like, yeah, but your body language is. So try to listen without responding with your body. And she's like, okay, sure. I'm like, ah. Then Orner diagnoses that, okay, it seems that in her absence, he was filling it with judgment, and in some way, he was missing her being more involved. He agrees. She asks, what do you do about it? And he's like, nothing. I don't want to cause trouble. This is another person that's so passive. Like, you think you're keeping the peace because you're not doing anything, but not doing anything is annoying in itself. You have to do something. Like, nothing's going to change because, again, in some way, indirectly, if you're doing nothing, you're putting all the onus on Allison.
Well, but
So,
to Rod's defense, because out of the myriad of husbands that are not great dudes, like I think he's trying the best as he can, because he's definitely with somebody that he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't. And I'm going to do the one that's going to give me the least amount of fire, and nothing gives me the least amount of fire.
I'm going to counter that. I'm going to counter that with, yes, I'm going to counter that with sometimes in the dynamic where the wife is the more outspoken, more, whatever person, immediately people cast them as the villain. But you forget that, I always say this, only two people in a relationship know what's going on. But if this was who she was, he knew who he married. So don't come fault her for whatever it is that she is now. Even this, frantic energy, this over talking, this like where it seems like she's always antagonistic. I'm pretty sure he knew that. And I'm pretty sure at some point he was like, you know what? I like that about her. I like that fiery thing. I don't want him to come now and use that as an excuse, because it could be frustrating for her, for him doing nothing. Like, is she innocent? No. But is she expecting stuff from her husband? Yes. And he's not doing anything. And I don't care that he comes in and you're speaking calmly and you're saying this. That doesn't automatically make you the better dude or the more innocent one. How is he trying? Because he's calm? I don't know. I'm just not willing to give him. I know compared to the guys, maybe he's not coming off as a villain, but because everyone's journey is different, I just feel like he's showing up and speaking like he should. And it's bare minimum. You should be a husband and you should be, be decent.
Well, then I'm going to counter your counter and say that Allison is definitely one of those people, and we've seen it with Orna, that she will deny if he says to her, like even with Orna, she was like, hey, you're being confrontational. She's like, no, I'm not. Yeah, you're doing this X, Y, and Z. Oh, okay, yes, I am. So I don't know if Rod has the tools to be able to kind of not confront her, but get her to a place where she recognizes what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because she even denies it. And I'm sure if he says to her, look, babe, you're being a little terse and you're being a lot. He even said, like, you were gone for 3 hours. I think you're avoiding me. And eventually she said it in therapy. Yes, I am. But I can imagine if he says that at home, she says, oh no, I just wanted my time and you guys didn't need me. And I was just walking the dog and I enjoyed being. So I think he probably, and these is wild assumptions because we're not in their homes, but based on how I've seen her interact with Orna, I could see how that could happen for them at home.
I see that. And again, I'm not saying that Allison is innocent. I'm just saying, like, he knew who he married, so he needs to be able to walk through the fire. Not saying anything is not going to solve anything. Like, you need to put in your big boy pants or big boy panties or whatever, big boy underwear, boxers, and, have that conversation. Like, if they weren't having therapy, would he have even brought it up? I'm sure he was just like, oh my God, I can't wait till therapy so we can talk about this. But again, like you said, he needs to start getting those tools where they have the conversation. And that's where he steps in. And she needs to be more clear on what she's feeling and recognizing how she's feeling so she can communicate that too accurately, and not Orna trying to interpret.
What is your interpretation of her behavior? Do you think that she truly was just like, oh, I had time to myself, you were hanging out with your mom? Or do you think some of that was manipulative?
No. I'm getting there. I don't think like it was just time for herself. I think there's also more. I felt I needed more from this interaction, from their session this week. But I don't know. Maybe it'll come out later. But no, it wasn't just time for yourself. I think there's more to it that we don't know. When he says no, he didn't want to cause trouble, she pipes in and is like, well, it's your mother. I don't have to hang out with her 24/7 since she's here. And since she's here, it's an opportune time for me to have more time for myself. Why this doesn't ring true to me is that she's not working, right? And he's working. How much more time do you need for yourself? What is the opportune time that you suddenly need time for you? Like, you can do that anyways on a regular day. I don't know the dynamics of their relationship and her relationship with their mom. I don't know if it's a culture thing. I don't know if it's an Allison thing. But for me, yes, it's his mother, but she's family. Like, the way like I'm brought up, like my husband's mom, when she comes into town, we hang out. His siblings, his sisters, we hang out. Like, I'm not saying, oh, your mom is here, bye. You have to deal with that on your own. That doesn't make sense to me. So that's why I'm putting it out. Like, I don't know if it's an Allison thing. I don't know what their dynamics are. If her mom comes, is he like, well, that's your mom, you take care of her? That's a strange concept to me. But I don't know if that's their culture and that's how they deal with things. So that didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and I'm with you, and that threw me off too, because Scott and I don't go to church, but you know what we do when his parents are in town? We go to church. It's just one of those things you do. You want your family, especially when they're visiting you, to feel comfortable. And even if they're getting on your nerves and you need a break, I could see the balance between like, okay, we're going to have family time, but you're his son and you're going to need just mother-son time. Like I see giving them time, but I don't see doing it unannounced and just disappearing and doing it without letting Rod know that this is why you're disappearing for 3 hours. So it seems like an excuse. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to walk the dog, or I'm going to take time. Then tell him, oh, I'm going to go take some time to myself. So no, it didn't ring true at all. But I think Orna just decided to focus on Rod this session and says, it's interesting that when Allison is not filling the space, the first thing in his mind is that he's being criticized or punished. And it sounds like you were missing Allison. So how do you make something happen? One, I think the question is, do you think he was missing her? Or do you think he was just missing the routine of her just chirping in his ear?
He misses her. I think he is frustrated, and as he is by her and is frustrated as their dynamic and this system that they've developed for each other is frustrating. To your point, like, he knew who she is and he likes having her around. And I bet when his mom is around, she adds a dynamic that makes their family time together feel good. And maybe she needs to hear that. And maybe he didn't know that she didn't know that. And her removing herself without having a discussion about it is the issue, really.
Okay. Well, something surprising that Orna says that I was surprised, and I was like, I don't know if I agree with this. I don't know if I disagree either. She's the expert. Is she does say that because he has these feelings, like maybe he's being criticized or punished in some way, that he could be baiting Allison to create conflict so he's not left with these feelings. I mean, Allison has the biggest smile when Orna says this, like, I'm being seen. But what did you think about that? I mean, he didn't disagree, but when she said that, what did you think about that?
I think there's some truth to that. I think there's some truth to, there's a couple reasons why somebody pokes the bear. They either want to see the bear have the reaction or they want the bear's attention. And again, this is their wonky dynamic that they need to shed light on. And so I think that was an aha moment for him.
Yeah, so she tells him like she wants him to observe his own process more. The more Allison creates space for him. As a sidebar, honestly, I don't think Allison intentionally created space for him. Allison gave into her own selfish, I'm just going to have time for myself, or in some way I'm going to show him. Because again, we don't know what the dynamics are. So maybe it's like, oh, I'm going to show him, like, if I'm not around, this is what happens. I don't know that she was like, you know what, I'm just going to let him be, let him have, I don't think that was the case for this. And to think about what he does want. And he says, you know what, you have a good point, because even when Allison asks him what is it that he wants, he's always like, I don't know. But, overall, I think Allison was in her best behavior today. I do wish that Orna had asked about his cultural background. I know we detect like a British accent, but I don't know if he's origin country, if he's from a different country, if his mom is first generation. We don't know any of that I wish would be interesting to find out, what his cultural background is, whether his mom had anything to say about Allison's absence. Is that what spurred him to say anything? Because other than that, does he care that she was gone? Like, you know what? Maybe it is better that she's gone. Or is his mom the one like, oh, why is your wife not here? And maybe does he care about perception? Then he's asking about it. Like, I think all that gives context to us about that. Is that why Allison's like, you know what? Your mom is overbearing. I don't want to be in the same house with her. I'm just going to walk away. And I wish that there was also a follow-up from their homework last week, because last week was about intimacy and the things they were supposed to do. How did that work? The mom coming, did that affect that? Was there some kind of progress? Just so I think I was left wanting with their session this week.
Yeah. But Allison still gives us a sparkly sweater. So yay, Allison. Sparkly sweaters.
Sparkly hoodie. Okay, our final couple is Kyle and Mondo. Mondo shares that when they were on Fire Island, that Kyle gave him an ultimatum where it's like either they stay open or this relationship ends. And I'm trying to fight, like, I just want to be nice about this. I'm not bored. I'm just like, it's either we shit or get off the pot, where it's like, we're talking about this open relationship. And I'm like, it's already happening. Remember last week? I didn't even realize. I thought they were discussing it happening. It is happening. So I don't know what the goal is talking about this all the time. And Mondo being so fixated on this. I am going to talk about, why he's doing this. But Mondo is saying, if I'm trying hard to make an open relationship work, has Kyle given any thought to why he has an aversion to monogamy? Kyle is like, I don't know, a fear of containment, a fear of being with one person only. And Mondo is like, what's wrong with that? Like, what I want to know is, this is me. I want to know, like, his past relationships with, I think he said he's only dated deaf people, and Mondo is the first hearing person that he has dated. Were those relationships open as well?
Is that the case? Because I thought that was the reason why why Kyle was wanting openness, was because the majority of the men he is seeking additional relationships with are deaf, and that he wants to explore that. So I was under the impression that Kyle's past relationships were not with other deaf men.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh, no. Kyle's past relationships have only been with deaf people. Mondo is the first person who he's been with who is not deaf.
Oh, I missed
But
that.
whether deaf or not, I think, have the past relationships been open? I think is what I want to get. Is this unique to Mondo? Because that's an extra layer. If I'm the first person that you're with that you want an open relationship with, why me?
I'm stuck on the one sentence that Mondo said was, I would do anything to keep you safe, and Kyle is not there. So why are we here? If I'm going to do everything in my power to keep you safe, and you are not reciprocating that for me, or you don't feel that for me, or you don't want to do that for me, even if that makes you uncomfortable, why are we here? And that's that's my frustration with the two of them. They're not on the same page, and it hurts my heart for Mondo so hard.
Kyle says that he doesn't see how you can love one person and be committed to just that one person. And Mondo says he just wants to understand that if monogamy is something he can't do, that he wants to make sure that Kyle knows why. And to me, this is Mondo parenting again, because sometimes people don't want to have a reason or no reason. They're just following their whims. Like, I don't know what it is, but I would flip it and I would ask Mondo, you want to know why monogamy is something he can't do, and you want him to know why. I want to know why you want to understand so hard something that doesn't fit with your values or who you are and causes you great anxiety.
Yeah.
This is all like, you are fighting too hard you're misaligned on that. He wants an open relationship. You want monogamy. It's why?
Yeah.
So he says,
this isn't I sleep with the AC on and you want the heavy blanket. This is not a there's not a quick fix, there's not a band-aid, there's not a workaround for this. This is a fundamental difference in the core of your value in this relationship. And I don't know how you build a bridge there.
yeah, and I think that Kyle Kyle does not show consideration for Mondo because it looks like he actually hits on guys in front of him. It's not like a discreet thing. It's like we go out, I want you tonight. And then Mondo's there actually maybe guiding him to the Uber to go be with the person. So Mondo says that he says because for him, the thing he fears the most is that Kyle can become another person when he's intoxicated. And then he sees himself drifting away with a guy or a group of guys. Meanwhile, he's falling apart inside. Kyle is like, yeah, but you have the tendency to have like worst case scenario, and that overprotectiveness feels naggy. You're not my mom or my dad. And I'm just like, ouch. Like, I think everything about that was just like, you're the problem. You're nagging me. I want an open relationship. Leave me alone. So, and just being told by your partner, like, you're not my mom or my dad. I'm like, oh, gosh. Kyle says that part of why they came here was for them to learn how to effectively communicate with each other. And Mondo starts crying, and Orna's like, okay, let's pause. Let's see what's going on here. Mondo says that this is bringing up a lot of stuff, and he shares with us that he was in a domestic violence situation with an ex who was on drugs, and he did not know that his partner was on drugs. And Orna is like, what was the drug of choice? And it was crystal meth.
Yeah.
And he said one time they went out and he found him naked. And he's like, this wasn't even like a sexual situation or there were other people that, like, he was just naked on there. And he got him home and he didn't know like who he was. So the partner just turned around and punched him and then just like beat him up. Like, it was so bad that his eye fell out like its socket, like was detached from the socket. His cheekbone was like raw because he was just beating him down and he was just taking it. And I hate to be this graphic, and I know Orna can't say that, but it is the depiction of his relationship with Kyle. You're just there. He's beating you down. You are taking it to the point where you are raw and you are hurting yourself and you're hurt. And the person just doesn't know and just keeps going. I'm not saying that Kyle is a monster. I just feel like, and again, I'm not saying like Mondo has the choice to leave and he is there, but that's why I said like there's a little sensitivity chip missing with Kyle where it's like, yeah, do what you want to do. And, technically Mondo agreed to this open relationship, but at least have a little sensitivity to what he's going through. And especially knowing his past, and Mondo's just lying down, just taking it instead of just walking away, just there.
Yeah, that connection that you made is phenomenal, and this is why I love talking about this with you. I give Kyle no grace. Like, I don't know how somebody tells you this very scary thing that happened to them, and I don't know if he said, "I'm hearing you, but I don't care." But my notes for Kyle was, "I'm hearing you, but I don't care," and what? I don't understand. And I don't know how Mondo can communicate any more clearly, but also I don't know how Kyle can communicate any more clearly. He want to be in the type of relationship that Mondo wants to be in. So I don't understand what anybody is getting out of this. Like, Mondo has this very...
Kyle is getting something out of it.
Well, yeah, he gets a dad. He gets somebody to take care of him and to check on him at 3:00 in the morning and to make sure he gets home safe and, to make sure that the functioning parts of his life function, which is what Mondo did for his family. So yeah, here we are repeating patterns again, which is sad. It's so sad. And
I wish Kyle would break up with Mondo and just set him free. But why would he do that when he's having, he's eating his cake and he's having it too? I think, like, for everyone, like you always talk about Nick, Mondo needs his own therapy because there's caretaking and there's caretaking to the point where you are burning yourself to keep other people warm. You are doing way too much. He's doing everything, and it's a pattern, like you said. You did it for the ex, you're the one who took him home, you're the one finding them. These people keep blatantly disrespecting you, your boundaries, whatever it is that you want, and you keep conforming, but you conform so much you don't even know what you want. You just know you want a partner. And that is the crux of the matter, is like at some point you need to take caretaking out of your vocabulary, because if not, you're caretaking your parents, you're caretaking your siblings, caretaking your partner, and who's caring for you?
Exactly.
Why would I do that if, you're doing all this for everybody? You're not even making room for them to take care of you, and you're coming off as self-sufficient.
Yeah. And
So,
let me be clear. I don't hate Kyle. Like Kyle,
mhm,
I understand ethical
mhm.
non-monogamy, and that those relationships exist and people can do them very consensually and very happily, but that's not the situation that he's in. And
Yeah.
he needs to get out of it and be in one that serves him. And this isn't it.
Yeah, the issue is not that he wants to be in an open relationship. Not at all. We've had couples in the past that had that. That's not the issue. The issue is that it seems to physically and mentally be causing pain for his partner. Like, this is all he's been obsessing over this, and he's just like in anguish, and is like, why am I, basically what he's not saying out loud is, why am I not enough? That is basically everything. And the fact that Kyle seems to be, it's not his intent. I mean, we're going to talk about it. Orna talks about that. But he seems to be flippant about it. Like, I don't know what else you want from me. I made it clear what I want, which is an open relationship. You agreed to it. Why are we still talking about this?
But did he agree to it? It sounds like it was an
Yeah, he did. He
ultimatum.
said,
I guess if
I mean,
if
it
he's
was,
still
and he
there, then he
agreed to
agreed
the
to it.
ultimatum. Yeah, and he said, like, I want you to be free. I want you to be happy because I'll do anything for you. So to me, that's an agreement. It wasn't like, if you do this, I'm gone. No. So he went ahead and he did it. So, after he expressed that the situation with his ex, he says that openness comes with so much unknown, and he just wants Kyle to know that all these things that sometimes he thinks are minor or innocent, they are big for him, and he just wants to understand, why not choose monogamy and keep your partner safe? I don't think Kyle has an answer for him. Kyle is like, this is just what I want to do. Kyle says, like, yeah, because Orna asked him, what do you think? And Kyle says, I understand the association. And my reaction is like, listen, I have this amazing partner, and I'm trying to be considerate of his past, and and understand that my decision could cause emotional pain for him. But I ain't giving up my openness was silent. He didn't say that, but that was basically just what he said. So Orna is talking with Virginia, and she tells Virginia that Kyle wants to be a good partner, but there's an immediacy of empathy and connection that's not there. But that she also remembers that he said, like, I did not have the experience of being understood literally. So he spent his formative years in isolation, and being with Mondo, she feels, is kind of replicating that. So Orna says, like, it's not obvious to him what Mondo is getting from it. And Virginia says that maybe he's getting so much from loving Kyle and helping, and that's helping him. And in a way, he's treating himself. And I don't understand that. They're the paid people. And it might require Orna saying, yes, I get that, but what about you? And that's all we've all been asking is, what about you? You know? So the episode ends with them in their apartment, and Mondo is doing some, he's fitting clothes on like a mannequin. And I'm like, oh, maybe he has a hookup for Allison. She wants to get back in the workforce. So yeah, that was the episode. I don't know. Maybe we should start a thing where we say who was our star player this week, and who do we think was our non-star player? I guess like a bouquet and ashes. So
I was
which
just thinking
couple,
that.
which couple would have your bouquet this week?
I would, oh gosh, it's a toss up between Jessica and Boris and Rod and Allison. I guess I'm going to go with Rod and Allison.
Okay. Okay. Let me think positive, and I'll go with Boris and Jessica. I would give Boris the benefit of the doubt that he actually made this breakthrough, because even no. Either way, I think either way it's a win-win, because even if it was a PR thing, for you to come up with the story, you had to walk through it, and these are all things that he said out loud. So to me, saying it out loud, him hearing Jessica not dispute the fact that, yeah, maybe you are a monster, you're nice sometimes, that's a win for me. They have meat that they can work on and then move forward with. Who has your ashes?
Oh, stupid
Who?
Kyle. Kyle and Mondo, if I have to put them together, but individually I'd give it to Kyle.
I think I'm gonna give it to Nick. I was really just most annoyed when it got to their point, because this whole passive aggressive thing, I don't like it. It's like, stop complaining if you're not doing anything. And I know to some extent, Rod is doing that, but there's something about Nick. I think that added layer of, I took care of her child. Again, this is just us. This is our deduction. He didn't say it out loud.
He
But
didn't. Sorry,
based on
Nick.
everything he's giving us, it's just, I did this and you're not saying this and all that. And then the whole fighting in front of the kid and, all that. I don't. So yeah, he gets my ashes.
All right.
Okay.
We should do a Married at First Sight, who we think is going to make it at the end.
Oh no, I never do that because they always stay. None of them break up.
Breaks up.
That's true. Yeah, they always just stay together. So okay, well, that was the episode. I think that maybe progress is being made. If anything, I don't want to wish that Kyle chooses monogamy, because that's him not being true to himself. Like, they should both be happy. They shouldn't try to force happiness with each other where one person gives up something. So if that's because on the flip side, where Mondo has his trauma, right? Where all that, happened to him, Kyle also has his trauma. I remember his mother refused to admit that he was deaf, and he had to come to a place where he didn't really fit in and he didn't have that. If this is his way, whether it makes sense to us or not, and this is how he feels like he needs to be free, please, by all means, I think he should. But if it's hurting somebody when you have a choice to not hurt the person and they could be free, go be free. And then if things changes years down the line, you're both single, pick back up where you left off. But, I just want happiness for them. Mondo just always, every week, physically looks like he's in pain, and it's just tough to watch.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
okay.
All of these couples should just go scuba diving, because you have to work together. You've got to do communication underwater. You've got to do communication on the boat. You're having a shared experience. That would be my prescription for everybody. Go scuba diving in Thailand.
Yeah, and then he comes back on land and he still wants to be with other people. So he could do that with other people. And, and I don't know. Wouldn't it be difficult for Kyle to scuba dive?
No, everything, he lip reads, and once you're underwater, everything's all hand signals anyway.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, well, can you share with people where they can find you?
Yes, you can find us having our adventures. Right now we're in Thailand at jns.adventures on Instagram and YouTube.
Okay, you know where to find me. Also call MAFS on all of the socials. Please give me a 5-star rating wherever you listen to podcasts, specifically on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And stay subscribed so you do not miss out on any new episodes. Got a bunch of new episodes coming out that are fun. So check it out. And until next time, bye guys.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.